Welcome to our first episode of First Mover Group, and it's very appropriate that I have a businessman that I have mad respect for as our first guest, and also a dear friend who we sort of got to know each other. Rolling around on the floor, hugging each
Yep.
other. It's a little bizarre intro, I know, but
At 5 a.m.
at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I didn't even brush my teeth. Um, so no, it's great to have Jason Tuschman here. Jason and I go back to the early days of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Jason is a very successful entrepreneur, businessman, and I'll let him share with the audience what exactly he does at Red Spot, right?
Yep.
And just building a fantastic business, and also embraced media, and doing it extraordinarily well. So Jay, welcome to First Mover Group.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate it,
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah, Joe and I have been friends, and I look at Joe as a mentor since 2005. So I am excited to be here and appreciate it. Red Spot Interactive was founded in 2008, and our intention was to bring direct marketing, return on investment style analyst, and marketing automation to the medical business. So many doctors just have a problem running their business from a patient acquisition standpoint, a patient retention standpoint, and when you combine that with the challenges of not understanding marketing as another part of their business, there's just a lot of inefficiencies. So we've focused really hard on being able to deliver a first mover style software that allows them to understand their return on investment, engage with their patients more effectively, which is more important now than ever, not only from a customer service standpoint, but from a marketing standpoint, and give them all the tools and everything that they need to run their business more effectively from that standpoint.
Did you have a previous background in software development?
Yeah, so 1997, finished law school, was out in California with my wife for our honeymoon. Was fortunate enough to be on a golf course and ran into a guy who had just started an internet company called AutoBytel, a gentleman named Pete Ellis. I thought I was coming back to Ohio to go into the scrap business for the rest of my life, and was excited about that. And
With the
really,
JD?
Yeah, with the JD.
Is that a litigious business, the scrap business?
So, was excited to go back to Ohio and be in the scrap business, and had been working in that industry since I was 14 years old. It was a family-run business, and met this guy on the golf course, and he was talking about this thing called the internet, and providing information to consumers online about how to buy cars better. My third day of my honeymoon, I went in and interviewed with the guy. Told my wife I'll be back in a couple hours.
Nick is the best.
Yeah. Showed up 6 hours later with apartment guides on where we could live in Newport Beach, California. Moved out 2 weeks later to work with him, went into product development. My wife came back out 4 months later because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And so I got into internet advertising and software development, if you will, back at that point in time in 1997.
And on the internet at that time, it was very early days.
Extremely early days. This is the story. This is the guy who did the first Super Bowl ad, and did the Super Bowl ad, told his board after he purchased it, raised a few $1,000,000, took a third of it, went and put it into a Super Bowl ad, and the stories of the servers blowing up and we can't handle the leads, this is that guy. He did it. And that was a great opportunity for me. Was spent 4 years there and got really hardcore into software development. We were actually interfacing with insurance companies' mainframes. And so we would bring in an auto lead online, first name, last name, car, phone number, zip code, and we would push that into an insurance mainframe, if you will, and they would send back initial quotes on what that insurance would be.
Now the people listening to this right now will go, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, this is 1997.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right,
So this is 1997, and we were able to give a pre-quote to a consumer before they walked into the dealership, and it made for a better customer experience. It made for a higher close rate for the dealer because they could really talk to the consumer about what the cost was. And that was my first foray into it. And frankly, a lot of what I learned back then and a lot of what these automotive dealers did back then to leverage technology, not only to acquire consumers, but to retain them, to get them back into the service station, to get them back for that oil change. And oh, by the way, your car is probably hitting 36,000 miles. Maybe you want to come see a new car, or your lease is up. We've taken a lot of that same information and same process of managing data and brought it to the medical industry.
Yeah, and do you have specialization in there in regards to the type of practices or the therapies that you focus on?
Yeah, so we originally started, it's funny, we originally started with the intent of getting into unsecured lending. So for elective healthcare, so plastic surgery, cosmetic dermatology, LASIX, we wanted to get into the business and provide unsecured lending and connect consumers with lending and then deliver them to the doctors pre-financed. That was the intent. So in doing that, we bought a business called perfectyourself.com, which was an old school directory of about 4,000 board certified plastic surgeons. So today our business is still about 60% elective health, but as we've advanced the software, the reality is all of the things we were just talking about to improve the consumer experience benefit the traditional third-party reimbursed doctor. They just value it differently. They value it based on reduced workload. They value it based on improved consumer experience with less work, and they value it on being able to essentially, run a commodity style business better, right? Volume and efficiency. That's how a commodity style business has to work, whether you're in the scrap business or a pediatric doctor. You've got to be able to run a lot of efficiency and a lot of volume, or volume through efficiency, and that's what our software brings. It allows them to acquire customers quicker, less work. It allows them to make sure they show up more, right? That cancel no-show rate is improved. And then when it's the right time for that consumer to come back to them, we're giving them the marketing to that consumer in an automated fashion so they don't have to worry about it.
And docs are notoriously terrible business people.
Yeah,
right?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, and because they didn't go to school for that.
Yep.
Right? They went to school to help people and provide care.
Yeah.
Yet they're tossed right into
and most
an
of them know
environment.
that, right? And they're humble about it. A lot of them are very humble about it.
Yeah, and though there's no training through, unless med school is changing now, but there's really no business training or MBA training with a lot of these practices.
Yeah, there's a couple issues. One is, maybe they get a business course or so here or there in med school now, but you know better than anybody, unless you're doing it on the street and practicing it and living it, reading about it in a classroom does nothing for you. So unfortunately, a lot of these doctors go to start their own practices, or maybe they take over a practice. They really don't understand the financial statements. They don't understand how to bring a customer in, give them an excellent kind of world-class experience, and then make sure they come back. They may deliver a great result, and frankly, the financial part of it allows them to maintain a good business, but the financial opportunity cost that they lose out on, not understanding how many customers should have come in, what they could have done to make sure they come back faster, it just creates so much financial opportunity cost for them that it's unfortunate. And what we've done is developed our software and our value proposition about eliminating that financial opportunity cost.
You and I have, you mentioned earlier that I've sort of provided some insight to the use of media in building your own business. And then providing a pathway or a gateway to those docs and those office managers about even being aware that you provide this service. How has that changed your business since you started to use your own media initiative into the marketplace?
So I think, twofold.
Or even look at it differently too.
Yeah, twofold. One is our software, with always allowing us to understand what the return on investment is and allowing the client to easily understand what the return on investment is, we were able to deliver a more valuable advertising product. So instead of talking to a client subjectively about creative or imagery or design, we could talk to them about visitor to lead rate and lead to schedule rate and pull through of the advertising, just like a direct-to-consumer advertiser would, right? Just like Geico knows. Geico doesn't go and spend billions of dollars a year on advertising and not understand the mechanics behind every aspect of their advertising. Who cares whether they've got the lizard or not? Who cares what color the logo is? They know the metrics, then they make those adjustments on a creative basis. And that's what we've brought to the doctors, and it's allowed us to deliver a better product. It's allowed us to have our clients have a lot more financial success. And frankly, what we've done then is taken the educational piece of advertising and have really published it out to the clients for free and tried to teach them how to go do the fishing themselves. We just want them to use our fishing pole.
Yeah. And now your business, you now are creating an outreach and putting your business out there, meaning your brand.
Very much
and
so.
And you've actually branded yourself as well as the front of the business. How did that come about, and what influence or impact has it had on the business?
So it came about, with the advent of social media, and really it was our clients saying, hey, what do we need to do with social media? And we always delivered websites on top of our software and traditional search engine optimization. And with our clients saying, hey, what do I need to do for social media? What do I need to do? We started to realize that what was happening in the marketplace with social media wasn't delivering value to them yet, but could be if they started to actually build their own brands. So we said, how are we going to go tell them to do that if we can't do it ourselves? So we went out and said, look, what is our value proposition in the marketplace? What makes us different from the other marketing automation, patient engagement, marketing companies that are out there, and how do we leverage that? So we went into content publishing on essentially the best practices of patient acquisition. And we stayed steadfast on it for a couple years, and it takes time. It doesn't happen right away. We stayed true to what our value proposition was. I'm not a Dr. Miami style guy, right? I am who I am. Stayed true to that. Stayed true to our comfort zone of mechanics and metrics. Published that on a consistent basis. And over time, the clients, not only our existing clients valued it, our existing clients wanted other people to understand that because of the opportunity cost and the challenges they know their peers face in running a business.
How long did it take? You mentioned it earlier. How long did it take, or how long is it taking, for that to get traction? And do you have KPIs? Do you just say, no, I'm just going to stay in the game? Because a lot of times people look at that budget number every year as a business owner, or somebody making the ultimate decision on that social spend.
Yeah. My spend for me, the way I looked at it, was time. I felt, and just like we tell our clients, look, you don't need a major production facility and hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment to get your brand out there as a doctor, or your practice's brand out there. So we took the same approach, subcontracted to get started, use of iPhones, things like that, and consistency and time was the most important thing. And it's taken 2 years. It's taken hundreds of videos. We still haven't even done what we need to from a true publishing standpoint. I think there's so much more we can do. And I feel the traction's really been the last 6 to 8 months. When you walk into that trade show, and you've been through this, you and I have talked about this, when you walk to a trade show and somebody stops you and says, hey, thanks for putting that out there. I really appreciate that you're putting that content out there. Because we took our playbook that we've learned, and we've generated for our clients over $300 million in new patient revenue.
Wow.
300,000 consultations through our call center. So we're not telling them to do something we don't know how to do ourselves. And there's nobody else that does that. But when you take that information, that strategic information, and you publish it out there so other people can take advantage of it, knowing all well that you're really good at it, but hey, if you make them good at it, all tides will rise, all ships will rise in the tide. We took that approach, we went headstrong into it, and it's worked. And so now when you walk into a trade show or you meet a prospect for the first time, they know who you are. They've got a familiarity with you. And that's what we try to explain to our doctors, right? Consumers want to know who you are before they come into the office. And it's not through a still picture, and it's not through your resume. They want to see you engaging with your consumers, because that is your brand, and that's how they get to know you.
And you're not advertising, you're teaching, you're informing, right? You become a gateway of information to your market.
Absolutely. I mean, if we've spent $50,000 in the last 2 years on paid advertising, I'd be surprised. It's all been, content publishing, LinkedIn, Instagram, which we still have a huge way to go. But yeah, and emailing, taking that message and emailing it not to just your existing customers in video or written, but to prospects and to your canceled clients, right? Like, everybody loses clients. It's part of business. We're still informing those clients that we lost. And you know what? We've got more of them coming back.
Nice.
They're doing better. And that's what we've done.
Cool. What, as we close out, what advice would you give to business owners, entrepreneurs who are either afraid of creating their own brand and reputation online, or just maybe don't know how to do it, or make the mistake to think that social media is just for their nieces and old schoolmates on Facebook?
Yeah. The way we look at it is, and what we talk to them about is, look, if you're a business owner or you're a doctor, the media plan, the business plan ultimately revolves around how you want to live your life, right? There's people that want to go all in. They're willing to sacrifice a lot of personal time, a lot of family time and things like that to run their business and to be a dominant factor. Then there's people that want to be out on the golf course on Friday, or they want to only work 4 days a week. So the first thing we do is say, look, you've got to make that decision. How do you want to run your business? Then you've got to make a media plan or a marketing plan against that lifestyle decision. Then you've got to implement from there. And we advise them, look, if you're going to be in business for more than 5 more years as a doctor or as a business owner, you have to get involved with this. It's not a choice. Or you're going to run a much smaller business than what you have the potential to. So like when we talk to a doctor, for example, my decision or my discussion with them is, how much longer do you want to practice? Well, I want to practice 10 more years. Well, what do you want to do? I want to have the dominant, plastic surgery practice in Jacksonville, Florida. Here's what you need to do. And you need to go all in on this. And it's not as much a financial decision for them as it is a time decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it really is. If you can make that small tweak in your lifestyle and your business and how you're going to spend your time, you can have huge leverage on social media. You don't need hundreds of hours a month to do this. You need a few hours a week across yourself and your team members, and you have huge leverage, because you start to teach them about syndication and things like that. And once they see a couple of things, once they have that first patient come in and say, hey, I saw your video with XYZ patient after their brass dog, then they become believers, just like us walking into the trade show.
Right, same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Jay.
Absolutely.
Great to have you here as the very first sit.
I love it.
In the First Mover. Thanks, buddy.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.